This is Scott Fain with the Youngstown Lifestyle Podcast, and today I'm with Amy Burgan from Burgan. I should Amy Burgan, Amy Day with Burgan Real Estate. Excuse me. And this is the beginning of this podcast. We're doing something a little bit different. We're spending a little bit of time talking about the home buying process and in this particular area. One of the goals that you mentioned to me, Amy, is that you're interested in working in more higher end properties and things like that. And so I wanted to touch base at least about the home buying process and getting started for someone looking in that area. All right, so for people who may be upsizing to a larger home or for some other reason, what's your advice on the first thing that they can be doing when they're getting ready to purchase?
Well, the first thing that is super important is making sure that you get pre-qualified or pre-approved. We run into a lot of times people will kind of self-identify what their price range is without talking to a mortgage originator. And some of the problems with that is when you go to these online search mechanisms like Zillow or Realtor and it says, buy this house, your mortgage will only be $700 a month. Well, that sounds great. It doesn't sound very expensive, but you're not factoring in your taxes and insurance. And what we find in some of those higher end properties is, if you're talking Canfield, Poland, parts of Boardman, I mean, your property taxes are pretty high. So you got to keep in mind that although the payment might be $700 a month, your property taxes can be, depending on where you are and how much property you have, $400 or $500 more per month. So it really just depends on, what you're actually qualified for. And that really helps the realtor kind of figure out where we could put you. It's step one in any search that we're going to help you find. Any search we're going to set up for you is going to be, what is our price range? So definitely the first step in anything is getting pre-approved or pre-qualified through a mortgage lender.
And you have your own in-house lender, is that correct?
Yeah, we work pretty closely with a couple of lenders in the area, but the one that I like to use the most is AmeriFirst. There's an agent there, Bob Grass, and he has done fantastic things for some of my clients. AmeriFirst offers an array of mortgage loans, so he will help find the best product for you and get that pre-approval. What's really nice is they work very closely with us, so if you say, hey, I'm working with Amy Day, he'll just shoot me over an email with that pre-approval, and that kind of relieves any, buyer of needing to print it out and bring it with them or, forwarding it themselves. It's just a way that him and I can work closely together and kind of save a few steps for the buyer, because it can become a pretty stressful time when you're buying a home.
It can be, especially when you're considering sometimes when people are buying a house like the kind we're talking about, they may have a property already that they need to sell before they can move. How do you factor that into your initial conversation with someone?
Well, if you've already had the conversation with your mortgage originator, then you're already aware if you have to sell your current home first or if you can kind of keep your home on the market. A great example is I worked with a family member recently, and because of how low his mortgage payment was on his first home, he didn't have to sell it, and now he's able to kind of do like a land contract for his sister who isn't sure she wants to stay. So he said, hey, let's do a land contract. But it just gives him an outlet. So if he does decide to sell in the future, we can definitely help him out, but he's not forced into it. It was also helpful, during the closing of the new home, because then we weren't worried about coordinating schedules and getting him out of his home so the new buyers could, move in, as well as, getting him into his new home. So there's just a lot that goes into that. However, I've also worked on the other end of it where, we had a couple that sold their home and they hadn't actually found a home yet. So they did have to spend a couple of weeks at one of their relatives' houses. So when you're talking to the mortgage lender and they're pulling your credit and calculating your debt to income ratio, they'll be able to tell you, well, yes, you will have to get your home sold prior to, purchasing a new home. And those are just different contingencies that your realtor can help work through with you so that it doesn't necessarily stop you from finding a new home, but it definitely makes sure you want to make sure that your home is with the right listed with the right realtor and priced accordingly so that you will sell quickly. And there's a lot of different points that we can help when you're selling your home as well.
But that's an important part of just when it comes to determining the person's buying goals and making a plan of action for how you're going
Absolutely.
to help them find a place. Whenever I was, dealing with helping people find homes and stuff like that, I was doing consulting work. That would be a big part of how we would get started, would be to understand exactly what they're looking to do so that you're not, having to show 150 houses or anything like that. Because you want to, it's wasting everybody's time if you spend a bunch of time seeing things they don't want. Like, let's show you exactly what you're looking for. And one of the things, I had a question about what are your minimum standards. I was listening to some Mike Ferry. Are you familiar with him at all?
A little bit, yeah. I've heard some of his stuff.
Oh, okay. So he has this great seminar on working with buyers that I was listening to, and one of the things that he mentioned that I didn't have it is he names it off as having minimum standards for the people that you're working with. And like he'll have a minimum standard for if I'm not taking you out in the car unless you've met with and have pre-approval by a lender, for instance. And, there's a couple of other ones that, he'll mention. I was just curious as to what your minimum standards are. What do you like to see before you're ready to get in the car with someone? What do you like to see from them?
Well, the pre-approval is definitely a big one. I don't want to say that I've never shown a home to someone who is not pre-approved. But especially if you're a first-time home buyer, there really is no point in looking unless you've been pre-approved. And everybody says, well, I have great credit. But for a realtor, when we hear things like that, we think, well, if you have great credit, how come you haven't made this first phone call? Because that's the first step into serious, a serious home buying search. But, again, like I said, there are people that I've taken out that they have not been pre-approved, and which is perfectly fine. Example is someone who's maybe downsizing from a larger home. I'm able to see, okay, this is where your home is. I can see that there's definite equity here. So in the event that you did find something you liked, then we would definitely have to get your home listed on the market to sell so you could purchase this home. So there's other ways around it. But back to that pre-approval, one of the things we see a lot of now is homeowners that are currently selling their homes. They don't want people in their homes unless they are pre-approved, unless the realtor can forward that pre-approval to the listing agent. And the number one reason is we don't live in a very trusting time anymore. So people don't want just strangers walking through their house, just what we call looky-loos, just wanting to check it out. That's kind of what open houses are for and things like that. But, you're kind of taking time out of their day. They've got to prep their house, clean their house, make sure everything's picked up, and then leave their house for a certain period of time so you could see it. They want to make sure they're doing all of that work for a good reason and for a qualified buyer.
For a purpose.
And, for a purpose, exactly. I mean, I guess you wouldn't want, I personally wouldn't want to have to go through the hassle of picking up. I mean, oh my goodness, if you have animals, you got to get your animals secured so someone can come in your house. I mean, there's so many different steps, and I kind of think, well, and I've talked to clients about this before, well, you're not pre-approved. I'd love to show you the home. It's maybe a 10-minute phone conversation. That's all it takes.
When it comes to determining how what someone wants to purchase or anything like that, how much do you rate actually going and visiting the person's home that you're about to help find a place? It seems like that would be a good idea, just to understand where they're at now. If they say I want more light, I'm looking for a house with better lighting. Knowing what their current lighting status is seems like a good idea for me. I don't know. What do you do as far as, your research on the person, when you're getting started?
Well, anytime that I'm getting started with a new person, I have to take a little extra precaution. So I at least like to, Google search them, see if they actually do own the home that they say they own, by looking at the counter auditor and things like that. Usually it takes a buyer a couple visits with me before they'll invite me into their home to show me what they have. I found that to be an advantage and a disadvantage. I've worked with people that, like I said before, downsizing, maybe an older couple whose family they've all moved out of the house and the house is too big. It's nice to be able to see their home prior to taking them out to homes because you can, get a better picture of what they have and what they're looking for. However, at the same time, it might be a disadvantage because when when you own your home, you get those goggles, those rose-colored glasses where you don't see the carpet's old or the kitchen's outdated or things like that. So you walk in these other homes with buyer's eyes and you say, oh my goodness, nothing here's updated. I'm going to have to gut the whole thing. And then you go to their home and it's the same way. So it kind of can be a two-edged sword because you don't want to be the one pointing out, hey, your home looks just like this when they don't see it that way because, it's their home. But yeah, usually the way, yeah. So it's kind of difficult, but the way we meet customers now or clients is, through the phone or during open houses. So like I said, we're just as much a stranger to them as they are to us. So they probably do just as much research on us to make sure we're legit as we do on them.
Now, as far as, one of the things that I like to see with a person is the ability or the preparedness, I guess, if you will, of making an offer. Like is that something that you're telling people initially too? Like, okay, well, they've gone through the process. They've gotten their pre-approval. You kind of know what they're looking for. You're going out your first time showing them these properties that you kind of cultivated, you looked for, you found something that seemed like they would be a perfect fit. How prepared are your clients for making an offer on that day if they find something?
They're definitely prepared, as far as purchasing prepared, but maybe not mentally prepared. And, writing an offer can be kind of stressful. There's a bunch of papers and you want to read it through line by line. What I try to do for a lot of my buyers is give them a copy of a contract so they can read through it on their own and kind of have an expectation of, what I'm going to go over with them while we're writing it, because there are a lot of fill in the blanks there. Everything is kind of moving more digital as well. So going line by line when you're e-signing things seems kind of silly, but it is 100% necessary. That initial offer is going to tell you things that you're going to have questions on throughout the whole 30 to 45 day process. You're going to need to figure out how much earnest money you're going to put down, which is your good faith deposit. So it kind of shows the home seller that you're serious about buying their home. It's going to tell you how long you have to set up your inspections. It's going to go through in that contract what a major element repair is, as well as go over possession time. So after everything is done and you've signed your paperwork, how many days do you have from the date you sign your paperwork to the date it's filed with the county to getting the key? So these are just different things, different steps we have to go through to make sure everybody is okay with our timeline and the processes. And that home inspection and the major element inspection, those are both contingencies that come prior to an appraisal. So once those home inspections are done and you're satisfied with the results or any negotiating has been done, if there was a major element repair that needed to be negotiated, then it gives us, we'll sign a piece of paper releasing the contingency, and it allows the bank or the mortgage originator to move forward with that appraisal process. And generally, from the time you write the offer and then you negotiate to get it under contract, we usually allow about 14 days for that home inspection, which is 2 weeks.
Right.
That next day, once that seller says, okay, I agree to these terms of you buying my home, once they sign that, you really want to start calling your home inspectors. And we work with home inspectors as well, so I'm able to provide a list of local home inspectors, and I don't have their prices, unfortunately, but, they'll give you their prices right over the phone.
I want to save some of that for our next one. We're talking a little bit more about the actual making the offer and whatnot, because that's some good information, especially the types of things that you're talking about with the home inspection. But just within getting started on the home buying process, just to recap, I think the big points that you've been pointing out to me seems to be get your money right first. Know what your money's going to look like. What kind of financing you can do. I would also think about how much you're going to put down on the down payment and things like that. And like what you're saying, that your lender can help you determine what you can do and can't do. and
Right.
then just having a real understanding of what you're looking for in your timeline.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would, as a parting tip for someone who's just about to get started looking in property, especially in the area that we're talking about, Youngstown and some of the outer lying areas for the higher end properties? Is there anything else that you want to reiterate or at least end on?
Yeah, there is something with AmeriFirst, and this is why they're one of my preferred lenders. That is not very common in this area, but I'm really hoping that it will become more common with the more exposure it gets. It's called a 203K loan. So have you worked with those before, Scott?
I'm familiar with them. I can't give you all the outlines, but I'm familiar. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just to kind of touch on it, there's a lot of times that home buyers will see homes that are maybe under their price range in a great area, in the right school district, close to mom's house or wherever they need to be. It kind of checks all the points, except the inside of the house might not look that great. If the house is priced right, so let's say that the house would normally in an updated condition be worth $100,000, but the home seller is selling it for $75,000 because they know the lime green bathroom is not the newest style, or the flooring is not the newest style, whatever it may be. Bob Brass can help get a 203K loan, and what that does is they'll come in and appraise the home at the value if it was updated, and that difference between that $100,000 and that $75,000, and this is not it's not exactly $25,000, so don't take it that way. And Bob can kind of get into more detail. But
we'll forgive you for the inaccuracy. Go ahead.
But it basically allows you to make these updates. It gives you access to cash, and they also help you set up contractors and get you estimates and all kinds. They're very, very helpful there. There's actually a guy they just hired on specifically to help people find contractors. His name is Matt. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to do it. But he works very closely with Bob. He works very closely with Burgan. And he does a fantastic job connecting, home buyers with contractors for those estimates, as well as providing, an outlet. So now you can update that home to the way that you like it to be updated. That way the seller's not worried, oh, should I refinish the hardwood floors? Well, you never know. Your buyer might want brand new carpet. And then that way, with that 203K loan, the buyer makes that decision, and they also have the cash to do it. Buying a home is already an expensive situation. 9 times out of 10, you're getting a loan. You're not purchasing it with cash. And you're putting a large amount of money down as a down payment. So with all of that being said, them allowing you to, do this loan and appraising it at what it would be worth if it was updated with all of these repairs done or all of these updates done, it really gives someone an option to, buy a home, a nice home that needs some work, and put the work into it immediately, not, 10 years. I mean, I've been in my house for 9 years and I still haven't finished my honey-do list. But if I had a 203K loan, or if I knew about it, that definitely would have been something, 9 years ago that I would have seriously checked into.
Most folks don't know about stuff until they know about it. And most of the time it's too late when it comes to these types of things. So hopefully people, early on where this can be part of that initial conversation. Because that is good. It's a great way to reinvent older neighborhoods and get new life into them, people buying like that. Well, I want to thank you for this first edition of this particular conversation on home buying. The next time we're going to talk a little bit more about, making that offer and the EMD and what's involved with that. I'm going to put this on our website, and you'll be able to connect with Amy through our website. I'll have our contact information, all that good stuff there for you. But I want to thank you again, Amy Day from Burgan Real Estate, for working with me. And we'll do this again very soon.
All right, great. Thanks, Scott. Have a great day.